Hello, and welcome to the YoGeez podcast. In this episode today, we've got Josh Connolly on with us, which super excited to chat to him and learn more about what he does. Does a lot of work in the men's space and working with teams and people in general to build resilience. I think we'll dig into more about what resilience is and what it means and how you do that in your own way.
Yeah.
So Josh, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Good to be here. Looking forward to where we're going to go with this, where the conversation's going to go. So yeah, good to be here.
Nice. Ollie, how you feeling? First video in studio podcast.
A little bit nervous, I've got to be honest, but Josh is a tiny little bit of a hero of mine. So it's that mix of that. So mate, it's awesome to have you here.
Mate, it means a lot. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, they say don't meet your heroes, but hopefully on this case, that's wrong. All right. Well, Josh, do you want to first start by just telling our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I work, like you said, primarily as a resilience coach. So I work with individuals and organizations, but it's mainly groups of people, if I'm honest with you, developing what I would call a sort of fresh, new understanding of what resilience means. Although it's, I guess, in a way, it's coming back to what resilience has always meant. Which is like breaking down some of those old barriers, some of the old ideas of, toughing it out and keep going forward no matter what, because I think that's what I did in my life and it was detrimental to me in the end. And so, yeah, I do that in a corporate environment, take that message to the corporate environment. I work with lots of big corporate clients. And then I also work with like person to person stuff. So I've got like an online program that I deliver, do some stuff in schools, some mental health talks. What else do I do? Breath work. And then the men's stuff as well. So I do something called Uncommon Man, which is once a month, getting men together to explore some emotional stuff, really.
Yeah. Which I'm desperate to go to one of those events.
Yeah, you've got to come, man. Both of you.
Well up for it. We saw some shouting men at the last one that looks pretty fun. We probably shouldn't do it now though, because we'll break the mics or something like that. and maybe give people horrible hearing aids. But anyway, Ollie, ready to ask the question?
I think so. I've been like, should I use a voice or not? But Josh, what's your problem, mate?
I was thinking about this, right? And there's like so many different variations of the answer that I could give. Because I think what I would say is the thing about self-awareness, right? The best thing about self-awareness is that you become aware of all of the parts of yourself. And the worst thing about self-awareness is that you become aware of all of the parts of yourself, right? So I could give you a number of answers. If you're asking me, the dad, what's your problem? There's some stuff going on at home, right? My family's quite complex. I've got 6 children. 4 of them live with me. 2 of those are with my wife. And the other 4 are from a previous marriage, and 2 from the previous marriage live with her. So there's and that's fairly new. So there's a lot going on there, which, my stuff, shall we say, plays out in my personal relationships. So there's a bit of that going on. And then if I look from a more kind of professional work-based thing, as well as being pretty energized, I'm also a little bit like anxious of how quickly things are moving. And even like, I'm going off on tangents here, but even like with what you just said, when you said like, I'm a bit of a hero of yours, right? It makes me like, I get all like, oh no, don't think of me as a hero. Do you know what I mean? Because I ain't nobody, I'm nothing. Yeah. So I love what I'm doing. I love the opportunity of the experiences that I get, but there's also a part of me that really struggles with it and keeps telling me in my ear, go back into yourself. Yeah. Don't keep putting yourself out there in this way. So does that answer the question?
I think there's a couple decent problems we can unpick in there.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. On the first one that you mentioned about family and all your kids, I have 1 kid and I'm that takes a lot of my energy. How do you find that balance between, because you've got a lot of work on at the moment as well, all that stuff is growing, you've got family commitments too, how do you find, so energies in work, energies in family, how do you find time and energy for yourself?
I have to be quite strict with some of the things that I do. Let me just quickly pick up the word balance. I actually say shoot for inclusion rather than balance, because balance is I don't know, it feels almost unrealistic, right? If those moments when I think, I'm all balanced and everything's just in line, I'm going to fall. Yeah. So it's more about like, you know, I can be a bit more sporadic with it. If I'm worked hard for a couple of days, then can I try and work towards balance by being a bit more inclusive with my time at home? Yeah. So rather than like balance becoming this perfect place that I reach, I'm more like balancing. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So there's that. But then also my fundamentals in my life is I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I go and exercise and I do some breath work, and I do it at 5 o'clock in the morning before the kids get up. And I have to do that. If I miss that a couple of days in a row, I really, really notice it. So it's a fundamental for me, right? Now, I'm not somebody who says you should do the 5 a.m. club and all that. Yeah. I think people, if you're a night owl, I think people should go and do what they need to do in the evening. But the important thing is that I find that space. And it's the most selfless thing I do. Yeah, because that space in the morning, for me, I have to get rid of some of this energy in my body. Otherwise, I'm too full of it all of the time. So I'm really strict with that, right? And it's easy to do. It just means that in the evening, I only watch 1 hour of TV.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not strict, like 1 hour, the timer's up, I'm stop watching it. If football's on, I'll watch 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is I won't allow myself to binge watch something on Netflix.
Yeah.
If there's 20 episodes, it'll take me I'll watch it in 20 days.
Yeah.
Because I know if I start going to bed at 11, then I won't be able to do the 5 a.m. thing, or I will, but then it'll become counterproductive because I'll be tired as a result.
Yeah, that's actually, because I'm thinking about what I do and that discipline, because it does take a lot of discipline to get up at 5 a.m. every morning, because I'm sure there's some mornings we are a little bit tired. But that's something that I've felt, at least in my life, I used to get up in the morning, and then since having kids, I haven't as much.
Yeah.
But I think that discipline was always such a big part of my life. And I do that thing of what you're saying, you know, once you miss 2 days, you really feel it. And I think now that I've missed so many months of it, I've almost forgotten what it's like. But I think getting back there is so important. And to be honest, watching less TV in the evening isn't a bad thing. Yeah,
exactly. And that correlation that you talked about, right, of, because I'm doing it every morning, I see the benefits of it, I know the benefits of it. It's like anything, isn't it? You know, if you stop working out for a while and then you start working out regularly, people will always say, I just forgot how good it is to be so like in shape and all that. And I don't do it for that. I do it for my head, you know, because I know if I drop it, you know, life can feel really difficult for me emotionally. Do you know what I mean? For the way that I store emotions, I'm fucking ultra sensitive. Do you know what I mean? I hate conflict. And when you're somebody who's terrified of conflict, living in the world we currently live in at the moment, you're overwhelmed all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's another thing I did. I got rid of all of the news apps. So I don't have any source of news on my phone anymore.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we chatted on the phone about a month ago, but also I think you talk about this as well. I think it's even in your Instagram bio. You describe yourself as a highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
And I think when you actually said that to me, I thought that about myself, and I thought that for a large part of my life, I kind of thought that was potentially a personality defect, that I was like highly sensitive, and I kind of, like a lot of men do, especially in their teens and early 20s, I kind of stored a lot of it in those emotions. But being a highly sensitive person, you know, you talk about the conflict and all these other things and all the emotions that you have. Do you think that you were born a more highly sensitive person, or do you think it's something that was building in your life? Or is it something that you kind of hid for a while, or something that at one point in your life just became a reality almost?
I think the answer is both. So when you look at like the quote unquote science behind it, it's found in a number of different species. They reckon like over 150 different species have got this high sensitivity. I think that when nurtured properly, so if I grew up in an environment where it was nurtured and it was understood, then it would have developed in a different way to what it's developed. Mine developed into a hypervigilance, right? And being overly in tune with other people and how other people feel. That made sense when in the environment I grew up in, because my dad was an alcoholic. I was always trying to work out if he was drinking, or if he was going to drink, or if he was arguing with my mum, or if my mum was happy, and you just get that hypervigilance comes in, right? Which takes my sensitivity down that path. Now, I think if I grew up in an environment where it was nurtured and way more understood, Because it's not understood at all. Most of Western culture thinks that you should bash it out at kids, metaphorically, right? Not physically, but metaphorically, you should bash. They're sensitive, right? We need to toughen them up, which isn't the case in all cultures, by the way. And so I think if I grew up in an environment where it was nurtured in the way that I nurture it now, yeah, but I'm doing deficit work now, yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to fill
it back up.
Yeah, I'm trying to undo all of that stuff, right? My brain developed to, most of its full state by the time I was like 9 years old, and we know there's neuroplasticity and all that sort of kind of stuff. But it's much harder to undo it. So I think if we nurtured it in young people a lot more, because it's an absolute superpower. I mean, like you will both have a level of sensitivity, right? It's not for me to tell you whether you're highly sensitive or not, but you wouldn't be doing this. If you didn't have sensitivity. You wouldn't be doing the work that I know that you do without a level of sensitivity, because sensitivity is the ability to be able to see the intricacies in things, right? So you can't be creative without a level of sensitivity, right? I can't do the work that I do when I speak to audiences or when I do group work and I sense how people are feeling. That's all my sensitivity.
Do you remember a moment when you were like, oh yeah, I'm definitely highly sensitive? Was there like a moment, or was it just progression of just trying to figure yourself out, understanding yourself more? Because I'm trying to figure it out.
So I don't specifically remember. I remember being directed to a website, which is hsperson.com. And I don't remember how I got directed there, but I remember going on it and reading it, right? And these were the things that come up on there, right? Because sensitivity is not just being sensitive to people's emotions, right? That's part of it. But you can be sensitive to, so highly sensitive people will identify with things like being highly sensitive to light. So I have the screen down on my phone a lot because I don't like the light on it.
A lot of lights here.
Yeah, well, you have to get used to it. Yeah, you're killing me, guys, in here. But direct light. So I have the screen down on my phone a lot. I'd wear sunglasses 24/7 if I could. Yeah. Noise, loud noises, scents, as in smells. So like I find it really hard not to ask people what they're wearing after shave if I can smell it, because I'm highly sensitive to it. Sensitive to touch. So like coarse materials. So, the idea of wearing a scarf to me around my neck makes my whole skin crawl, right? Because I'm sensitive to it. So there's things like that. But then there's also like violent movies or violent things on the TV. I struggle with some of that stuff, yeah? But the problem for a lot of men, I should caveat this by saying, the problem for a lot of men is that we've built up so many layers against all of that, defenses against all of that sensitivity that I just talked about. If you'd have asked me if I identified with any of those when I was in my early 20s, I'd have said absolutely not. I fucking love violent films.
Yeah.
That's what I've said. But the truth is now, when you take away all my defenses and you sort of bring me authentically as I am, I struggle with those things. I mean, I watch them, but I see fighting and that come up on social media. And as somebody who used to be involved in football violence when I was back being who I used to be, it sends all my senses crazy when I see it online now.
Yeah.
But I get a bit hooked into it as well. Like I feel like I want to watch it, even though I know
it's not. That's the weird thing about
it's so weird
violence.
Yeah.
And when you see that, you don't want to watch it because it does make you feel a bit shit. But then at the same time, you kind of want to watch more.
Yeah, yes, it's bizarre. Yeah.
Going back, because we also spoke about this on the phone, is to your football days.
Yeah.
Let's call them.
Yeah.
As a highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
Do you think football violence then was your outlet for suppressed emotions, essentially? Because
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I say to everybody nowadays, right? I say it straight away to people. I say, if you think that men don't do emotions, right? Go to a football match.
Yeah.
Men do emotions. Men do emotions.
Yeah.
When I was 19, I didn't cry at my dad's funeral. When my dad died when I was 9, didn't cry. Never cried. Yeah. Unless I was like steaming drunk, and the waterworks came on at the end. But normally I wouldn't cry. I used to cry every time we used to sing the song at the beginning of the Swindon game. Because I had all this emotion in me. And think of it being connected with all these men singing the same words, hairs on the back of your neck, standing up, excitement for what's about to happen. You're about to go to war together on the pitch and off the pitch with what we used to do. Like, I was searching in those days for what I've got now. When you talk about Uncommon Man, it's the same. It was the same thing. Just playing out in a different way, playing out in a much more unhealthy way. But I'll tell you now that, most of them lads that were involved in it back in the day were the same as me, sensitive. When I go into schools and I work with young boys that are angry, they are all sensitive, all of them. And they don't know how to deal with being overwhelmed all of the time, so they go to anger.
Do you think that's a default for most blokes? Just straight to anger?
I don't think it's a default. I think I think it's what the systems and the structures that we exist in teach us. So when I was overwhelmed in a class, used to make me sit down for 8 hours in a school. I don't want to do that now. Yeah. Right. Sit down and write. I couldn't do it. It sent me crazy. So I used to have to do that at school. And so I'd get overwhelmed, and I ain't crying in a lesson because I get bullied, right? Boys don't cry and all that kind of stuff. It's not as simple as boys don't cry, but it's like you get bullied in a school if you cried a lot, as much as I needed to. So I learned not to cry, and I learned to be angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the opposite's true for girls, right? Because girls, you see a lot more girls in schools, and I'm generalizing, of course, but a lot more girls will self-harm and stuff, because if a girl threw a chair in a class, she'd get thrown out, she'd get put in front of a doctor.
Yeah.
If she did it twice, they'd be like, this girl's crazy. Yeah, but with boys, it's like, naughty boy, that's kind of what they do, that's how they are, and you're allowed back in the lesson. So I learned that it was safe to be angry.
Yeah, you're protecting yourself.
Yeah, much safer to be angry than it was to cry. Whereas now, I'm a crier. I have to cry a lot.
Me too, mate.
But it's true, man. And look, there's nothing wrong with crying is an emotional release. Do you know what I mean? So I need to let it out, because I store my emotions in my body too much.
And because I think for a lot of men, getting the anger out through violence, through the gym or whatever it is, getting some sort of like physical release out is really important. And I think you've got to do it in the right way. Now that because you talked about the exercise in the morning as well, do you think that, and now that you cry as well, and kind of you're in a place where you know how to deal with your emotions, do you ever feel angry now? Or does that ever crop up? Or are you now at a stage where that's kind of done?
No.
Oh, it's still okay.
Oh, no, yeah. How old's your kid?
15 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just you
get
wait.
angry? Yeah, wait. Look, no.
But I have one kid, not 6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My eldest is 15 as well, by the way. So she's doing her GCSEs. So, no, I still get angry. And by the way, anger in and of itself is not bad, right?
Yeah. It's understanding where it comes from.
It's understanding where it comes from. And what it's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So like, if you look at, like, I don't know, Martin Luther King, he was angry, right? Look what he did. Right? So he was rightfully angry. So I think when I get angry, right, I need to be able to understand where my anger is coming from and what it's trying to motivate me to do.
Yeah.
So is my anger because something internally is conflicted in me? Am I just a bit scared and I feel emotional and I'm using anger because of that, because I don't know where else to go? Am I angry because somebody's crossed a boundary? And so I do need to actually be a little bit forceful and use my anger in a good way so that I can come across and say, no, this isn't okay. So it's like, we often make the mistake of thinking rage is the only kind of anger, when actually rage is because we've held our anger in so much and then we've exploded.
Yeah. And I actually, sorry to butt in, I actually feel that same release of when I cry and when I get really angry over something. I that same feeling after I do feel. And because I'm trying to think of the last time I got angry. I can't remember, but there have been times where I have got angry. And it's been because, I've been cycling in London and someone's cut me up, and it's just that instant, the red mist. Then after that happens and I kind of let my anger out, I do feel that lightness. It's almost like we need that release in some way. But then I have that internal dialogue of, was I angry? Does that mean that, have I got stuff locked in? And I think I sometimes as well start to question myself, why have I got angry? But I think what you're saying, and I think is really important, is trying to understand where that anger's actually come from. Like, why have you reacted like that? Not because someone's cut you up or because, Tottenham has scored a goal or whatever it is. Like, what is actually the real reason? Although Tottenham scoring a goal might be a legit reason for me. Yeah. But and then I guess it's learning to channel it in the right way, because what you're saying, if you channel anger in the right way, it is a good thing for us. And it's something that we should, and there's a fine line between violence and channeling your anger. But actually for men, getting that anger out, especially if a lot of men find it hard to cry, is a really important thing for us to do.
Yeah. And look, violence isn't anger, is it? Violence is a completely different thing.
Yeah, violence is a completely different thing.
Violence is just something that you might do when you're angry.
Yeah.
You see, but what we often do is we think they're the same thing.
Yeah.
And we overlink them. Whereas, I don't know, I'll use Martin Luther King, I can use another one, the suffragettes. Like they were angry, right? And they mobilized their anger because they were rightfully angry and they did something with it. More recently, when you look at some of the things that happened during the pandemic and some of the marches and stuff that happened with them, that was driven by angry people, right? And in a lot of cases, rightfully so. So it's a good motivator, but we have to understand it rather than be scared of it and try and push it down into our bodies. Like you said, we have to understand where it's coming from. And a lot of it for me is I use anger to mask my overwhelm.
So how can we turn anger into a positive? Because I know, like, when you think about anger, it's never like a good thing, is it? And I know you've come from like a place where, by the way, congrats on 10 years.
Thank you.
10 years. Saw that recently.
Yeah.
So how, like, I'm thinking, so for someone who's dealing with a lot of stuff myself at the moment, I'm like kind of building that up. I don't think I'm less angry. I just have more control over it.
Yeah.
So how did you go from like ultimately being an alcoholic into that place? And you were probably more angry then, right?
Yeah. I had a lot more anger in me. Yeah. Because it was stored up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, so like, basically for people listening that are like still trying to figure that out, I know both of you guys, like, I look up to both of you. I think you're great, like, at dealing with these kind of things. What would you say to someone who's, you know, someone like me who's still figuring out what the bloody hell to do with my anger, to do with my emotions?
Yeah.
What are the steps?
Look, the first thing, I think there's 1,000,001 different ways to do it, right? And I actually think the more space that you can create in your life, right, that's designated to searching and finding what that is for you, is going to be better. Yeah. So like now my morning routine, when I say I exercise in the morning, at the moment, I'm doing a lot of like hardcore, like HIIT running training stuff, right? That's what's working for me at the moment because I get fully in it. I get like drum and bass on my headphones, right? I do these like short bursts and all that. And it really, by the end of it, I've got rid of so much energy in it. I'm so much like any of that stored up stuff that's coming out of me is like feeling like I'm a bit like he's pissing me off and it goes because I'm getting rid of that energy. If you think of it like emotion as being energy in motion, it's in our body. Yeah. And I think this is why there's lots of different reasons why I'm not a big fan of the term mental health, right, in and of itself. But one of them is because when I feel something and in my head, emotions are very, very physical. Yeah. And so I need to shake them out somehow.
Yeah.
And the reason I say HIIT training and describe it as what I'm doing at the moment is because it weren't that 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I was just absolutely obsessed with doing bursts on my bike, right? And doing these hill climbs on my bike. But whatever it is, you've got to find it. And I think once upon a time, and I'm going back, hundreds of years ago, probably when we lived a bit more tribal, we had to go and get rid of that energy. We did it naturally because we had to go hunting or whatever it was. And today we do a lot of like sitting around because our jobs are completely different. And I think it's very unnatural for us to not go and shake that energy out in some way. Breathwork's another way for me. And the scream that you talked about that we do at Uncommon Man, that comes at the end of a 25-minute.
Tell us about the scream.
Breathwork routine. So you do conscious connected breathing. So you do a breathing pattern that's very simple and is connected. So as you breathe out, you go straight back into the next breath in. And by the end of the 26 minutes that you breathe for, you're off your nut. Your whole body's shaking, right? And you're like, they're all crying. I like promise you, I say it to them. We have about 30, 35 men there. I say 95% of you will be crying by the end. And that's not an exaggeration. They're all led there crying, like, covered in snow.
But when you say that, is everyone like, nah.
Yeah. I'm like, none of you, if you're new, you don't believe me, but I promise you that will happen. And then you go, and then I count down from 3 and I say scream. And then they just scream and they let it out. And afterwards, you've let go of that energy that's trapped in your body. When I get most snappy, when my anger wants to come out of me more, is when I'm a bit overwhelmed. Yeah. And if the kids are annoying me a bit more, or my emails that I get a bit more narky, right? It's easy for me. I can sit there and I can go, people are pissing me off today. Look at all these people emailing me, like, and I'll do it. Yeah. And I'll be like, I ain't got time for that. Right. Of course I do that. But what I need to do is get myself to a place and go, right, this isn't me. This is not what I'm like. I don't think like that about people. So why am I reacting this way? All right, I'm emotionally full. Let me go and breathe for a minute. Let me, go and let me get out on the bike. Let me, before I go home, go and do a little bit of exercise or whatever it is. But if you think of it as stored up energy trapped in my body, I've got to find a way to get it out. And that's why, it's too simplistic to say that we need to just get people to talk, because talking's one modality of getting your emotions out. It's not the best one for me because I'm too good at talking. So I just know what to say, and I'll say it, and everyone will go, wow, that's profound, so vulnerable. And I'm thinking, I haven't felt a single thing when I've said that. I just fucking knew what to say.
Would you say you need to do something uncomfortable then?
Yeah, well, I need to do something that brings me into my body.
Yeah, push yourself.
You ever gone for like a really, really long run?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know when like towards the back end of it, you can start to feel a bit emotional on that. You think, fucking hell, like, it's because you're in your body. Yeah. And you're like in that one next step to the next step to the next step. And that's why, because anything that brings you into your, because that's where your emotions are, in your body. And I think sometimes we present a lot of things as being the solution when actually they're just another way to escape how we feel.
Mental health, and that as a term, why don't you like it?
Let me just be like very clear. When I say I don't like it, right, what I mean is I don't like to use it personally. I think if people use it and it works for them, then they should use it, right? So me saying I don't like it is not the same as saying you're an idiot for using it.
Yeah, but because I think as a term, there are definitely parts of it. I think sometimes in society, people associate mental health just with the negative side of it. So from that perspective, I do think it is sometimes a dangerous term. Like when you talk about mental health, you think someone is severely depressed or they have a hyper anxious person. So for me, at least, that's sometimes where I think there's a little bit like the connotations around the world and society are a little bit dangerous.
Yeah. And what I think happens is it becomes very simplistic, right? So I'll be struggling, someone will be struggling with their emotions and they'll say, I'm struggling with my mental health. And if you go, well, what do you mean you're struggling with your mental health? They go, well, I just lost my job and I'm really struggling with money. And I say, all right, so why are you struggling with your mental health? Well, because I feel shit. And it's like, well, that's your mental health doing its job. You're supposed to feel shit. There's shit going on. So your body's actually, you need to listen to what your body's telling you, right? And so what I worry happens is we've lost emotional literacy, which is really, really important, right? If I say to you, how are you feeling? Right, the real key is for me to go, right, how am I feeling? I feel a little bit heavy, feel a bit like I've got this stuff going on at home that's causing me a bit of stuff. Why is that causing me a bit of stuff? Well, it's because I really need to have a conversation with my wife about this. And then I've got that thing going on at work and that's making me feel a lot of anxiety. And that's really because I need to set a boundary that I'm not setting. And you see, and I'm making those scenarios up, but when you start to explore it and use emotional literacy, you start to realize that the ways that you feel are clues, they're signals, they're trying to tell you something. If I just took all of those feelings that I just said and went, I just feel like I'm struggling with my mental health. I take away all of those clues and I just pathologize what I'm feeling. And I worry that, that's what we're doing when we blanket use this. So I just encourage myself to say, go deeper. If you're struggling with your mental health, what do you mean by that? Tell me what you're feeling. What do you feel in your body? Why do you think you feel that? Is there any reason why you might be feeling that? And I think what you find is that in most cases, what you feel actually makes sense based on your experience.
Yeah. And coming back to this term resilience and mental resilience, because that's what you do and you talk about it, and you said at the beginning how you viewed it many years ago is slightly different to how you view it today. I guess maybe first of all, if you could explain what building mental resilience actually means and then how you do it. Because I think resilience is one of those things that I think I know what it means. Do you know? It's like one of those words, one of those terms.
What do you think it means?
I think building mental resilience is about, this is putting me on the spot here, it's the other way around. And I think it's about getting you ready for when you face stressful situations or different situations in your life, that you can tackle them in a way that doesn't impact you as much. Okay. So for me, mental resilience is making myself stronger for those moments in my life where stress is brought or whatever brought to my life. I can deal with those moments better. Yeah, that's kind of how I would view building mental resilience.
I think other people as well. I was going to say, building strength, like in a nutshell. Yeah, resilience for me is strength.
What sort of strength?
Or I think of it like quite logically. So resilience is if someone punches you, it's the ability to get back up and not like stay on the ground and feel sorry for yourself, to take the hits and keep on going, I guess.
Okay, so but the ability to get back up is different to strength. I would look at as getting punched and not going down.
Okay. I'd probably go down if I got hit in the face.
But you see, like, it's important. I think what I try and get people to do is to really reflect and actually say there's no right or wrong answers here, right? let's reflect on it. If you look at the definition, it says the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, and then it uses the word toughness in there. Yeah. What's interesting is when you talked about being hit, you're talking about you go down, and then resilience is about your ability to get back up, right? Which is slightly different to what some people come with, which is resilience is a bit more like, you know, RoboCop. Yeah, it's like just metal just keeps coming forward. That's what I used to think it was.
Yeah.
Right. Which is different, way different to where you can fall down and you can get back up.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the word, what we talked about, the ability to recover from difficulties, and then toughness, I think toughness is like part of our resilience, right? But we should separate it. So if you think of a tough material as being something like a hard plastic, the strength in that is that it can take adversity, it can take a lot of impact, and it stays fixed and strong and exactly as you need it to be, right? The problem with a tough material like a hard plastic is if you hit it too hard, it'll snap. And if it snaps, you can't use it anymore. It's no good. You can't use it in its original form. Yeah. So we need a bit of toughness. Sometimes I need to be a bit like a hard plastic. Yeah. I need to show up, grit my teeth and get through it. But long term, I want to be much more like elastic. And elastic is a bit more like what you said, right? Which is the ability to know that I'm going to fall down, I can bend and move out of shape. But the strength is that I'll be able to return to my original form. So it's knowing that we need a bit of both and knowing when we need a bit of both. Do you like boxing?
Yeah, like it, don't love it, but yeah, like it.
You know, Joshua.
Yeah.
So you remember when he had a fight against Klitschko? Yeah. You have to forget for a minute that he went on to get beat again and all that. When he fought Klitschko, it was massive defining fight for him. Yeah. At the time, it was massive defining. Anthony Joshua had just knocked everyone out that he had faced up until that point. Right. He just battered through him. Total KO of everybody. When he fought Klitschko, most people remember that in the 11th round, he did that uppercut. The main uppercut is a famous picture where Klitschko's head looks like it's coming off his shoulders. And he won the fight in the 11th round. Yeah. Knocked Klitschko out. Right. What people tend to forget, is that in round 7, Anthony Joshua got knocked down. Right. Now, for me, his act of resilience was that for the next 2 rounds, he ran away from Klitschko. This big, strong heavyweight, Anthony Joshua, who knocks everybody out, ran away from Klitschko. He ducked and weaved and just didn't let him hit him. He didn't even try and really land a punch on him unless it was to keep him off of him. And his whole tactics, in boxing they say taking a round off, right? He took 2 rounds off. And the reason he won the fight in the 11th is because he took those 2 rounds off and he ran away. So it's like, that's a great metaphor really for knowing, when do you need to take a round off?
Makes me feel better for saying that I'll go down if I get punched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
If he goes down, it's fine.
Exactly. And is it Rocky? I think it's in the Rocky films. He said, and about how hard what's he say? How hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep going.
Yeah.
Get back up. Something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that is resilience, to be able to deal with everything that is being thrown at you and react to it in the ways that you need to in that moment.
Exactly. And at the core of that is enough vulnerability to know what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
So to know, do I need to take a step back here, right? Have I been toughing it out too long? Do I need to take a step back, right? Have I taken a step back for too long? So maybe I need to tough it out a bit and get myself back in the playing field, right? But ultimately it comes back to self-awareness. Do I need to pull people in, right? Resilient people have resources in their life. The best resource I have in my life is men around me that I know that I can trust. So a lot of people often think that resilience means if you ask for help, then it's like you're not resilient, you're failing, yeah? The opposite is true.
Yeah.
The act of asking for help is part of your resilience.
That's strength as well to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a weakness, which we so often...
Exactly. And
in society teaches us at an early age that it is a weakness.
Exactly.
In Western society, at least.
Exactly. And that's why I need enough vulnerability and self-awareness to be able to look at myself and say, what's really going on here? What do I need? Yeah. And then having the courage to go out and get what I need, whatever that is.
Why do you do what you do? Why is building mental resilience in teams, in schools, how did you get there, and why do you do it now?
I got there because my own personal experiences, of just feeling like I have to keep going all the time. We talked about this highly sensitive stuff, yeah. I lived like all I wanted to be was a man when I was a boy. Yeah, I wanted to grow up and be a man. I got,
What was that for you when you were a kid?
Getting covered in tattoos, having a skinhead, able to have a fight. I used to watch,
You've got the tats, not the skinhead.
Yeah, well, I used to have the skinhead, yeah.
Okay.
I had the skinhead until I got sober.
You got tats and the skinhead, yeah.
So you were more of a man than me now. But beard, worked hard, got dirty at work, got a job in a factory because that's what men do, or on a bit, I didn't want to be on a building site. And none of that is who I am. Do you know what I mean? So I realized that so much of the ways that I saw the world had that impact on me. And when I was 20, I was about 9 months sober when I planned to take my own life. And I did that because I thought, I've quit drinking and I've stopped using drugs, and I'm 9 months in and I still hate everything and I'm still the same person. So I must be, there's no hope for me. And I was lucky that I had an experience with my children that sort of changed everything. I'd planned to take my own life, and because I knew I was going to die, the past became irrelevant and the future was non-existent. And for the first time ever, I was present with my kids in a way I'd never experienced before in my life. And that was when I changed my mind and about what I was going to do. And I've been on a journey really since then for the last 10 or so years of just trying to find ways to be present in a world that I sometimes find a little bit scary and a little bit overwhelming. And that's the truth of it. And that's why I like to talk about what it is to be a good human more than anything else, because I don't resonate with the things that are supposed to make you a man. I just don't. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when I'm around men, I'll try and be a man. Yeah. Still now, yeah. I go to football, I'll start getting a bit cockney and swear a bit more and talk about that tear up I had when I was young, whatever, yeah. I'll do all of that because look, this has been the reality for me. This is the truth that I believe. Everyone that I've worked with, from working with like executive bankers to working with a man who's trying to stay sober for a day, that we also struggle with the same thing, and that's feeling like we're lovable and exactly as who we are. Mm-hmm. The core wound in everybody is the same. I believe that. And so the reason that I do that work, the reason that I do the work that I do is because I want men and anybody, because I want anybody that feels like they're in the darkness to know that the things that they think keep them alone in the world actually attach them to more people than they could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is, I'm just interested. You said about when you were contemplating suicide, or you'd planned your suicide, yeah, and then it was the presence that you had with your kid and those present moments. Was it a particular moment, or was it actually, what was it about being able to spend time with them in that present moment that actually changed? As someone who's never fortunately been in that, yeah, thinking about my suicide, what is it that changed your mind?
Because I sort of realized that in that presence that's what life was supposed to feel like, and I'd never felt that. This is the problem, yeah. We say to people like, you should talk about how you feel. I don't think the world's ready to hear how people feel half the time. Because at that stage in my life, I felt like I hated my kids. I knew I was supposed to love them. I knew intellectually I loved them. I didn't know what love felt like. I never had a dad sit me on his knee and say, I'm proud of you, and put his arm around me and like kiss me and lean his face into my face and touch my skin. Never had it. Like, I never did it. And so I didn't know how to do it with my kids. I remember when my kids were really young, I used to think I can't wait until they're older so that I can interact with them, because I didn't know how to be with them in their emotions. I didn't know how to do that. And when I found, because I knew I was going to die, everything just went. And I remember like cuddling my daughter and being like, this is the most amazing thing. This is like what I would do all the drugs and that for. This is what I've been searching for. And look, in that moment, I didn't think, well, I'm going to change my mind and try and spend my life finding presence. I actually thought, if I could just convince myself that I'm going to kill myself next week, then maybe I could do this again with my kids next weekend. That's what I thought.
You got me going, mate.
I've nearly gone with you. I'm nearly gone with you. And look, then that's what's led me now to that presence. And I think that's what we're all searching for to a degree, because it's not easy in this world.
What I found kind of scary was when you said you'd stopped with the drinking and you then wanted to take your own life.
Yeah.
Which, like, for me is like quite scary. I've been in a similar situation, so I also planned my own suicide.
Wow.
And for me, I was using my issues as like a excuse, a reason to like to be. I don't know if you relate to that. If you use like, being addicted to alcohol, it's like almost like this is why I feel this way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, 100%. I thought when I quit drink, I quit drink and my problems would go away. Because my problems are because I drink too much. Yeah, I got a problem with alcohol. That's why I'm like I am. So then when I took all that away, I had a period where I felt good for like a month.
Yeah.
And then all the feelings started coming back. Yeah. And so did the behaviors.
Right.
And then I thought, so what now? What have I got now?
Yeah.
Alcohol was never my problem. Alcohol was an attempt at a solution. And it fucking worked, by the way, for a little while. This is the thing with alcohol and drugs that people don't talk about, right? They work. That's why everyone loves them. Yeah. But they're not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know? And people say to me, do you miss alcohol? And look, I couldn't drink it properly. But I didn't quit it because I don't like it. I quit it because I loved it too much.
Yeah.
You know, and I miss being able to drink a liquid and all my problems go away for a night. I wouldn't have the self-awareness that I have now because I ain't got a choice but to do that because I don't like the strongest thing I'll have is caffeine, you know? I don't have anything else. And garlic. Garlic, which apparently...
Loving the garlic. Don't get me started on garlic, mate. That's a dangerous path.
Yeah.
Raw garlic in particular.
For reference, people that are listening, Nick couldn't sleep because he had raw garlic once. So
this was after 3 years of no garlic. Had raw garlic for dinner, and I generally couldn't sleep till about 5 a.m. I don't even know if I slept at all that night, but yeah, it really gets you going. Garlic,
but listen,
great for a podcast as well.
But yeah, exactly. But anything that makes me feel good and takes me away from the ways that I feel, I have the potential to get addicted to. You know, sugar, food. Yeah, I eat like a monster. Why do I eat like a monster? Because once I start eating, I don't have to deal with the ways that I feel. So I'm fucking in it, yeah? Same as I can get to the middle of the day, 1, 2 o'clock, and I've been out all day, and I get that feeling in my stomach, yeah? You know, your breath goes a bit funny when you ain't eating all day. And I'm like, I ain't eating all day, and then all of a sudden, instead of like what somebody else might do, where they go, I ain't eating all day, I better eat. I'm like, if I go in and do this podcast now, that'll be another 2 hours of not eating. Then all of a sudden, it'll be 6 o'clock. And then I've done like a whole day of not eating, right? That's right. And then I'll go home and binge eat, right? But all of that stuff is all a way of keeping me away from how I feel, you know? So it's understanding that the thing is never the thing. The thing is the reaction to the thing. Yeah. I think that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Johan Hari, who I think you know, and I think he commented on one of your posts recently. He's one of my favorite authors. And the way
he commented on one of my posts.
Yeah, I'm pretty damn sure.
Oh, I've not seen that, man.
Yeah. I saw that because I follow him, and I saw. Yeah. He's lit. I think he's one of the best authors and one of the most amazing people in the world.
I'm a huge fan.
And anyway, he says the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
And it was in an episode we had about 4 or 5 ago with my cousin who's in recovery. Celebrated 2 years a few days ago, and we talked a lot about that you know. Connection is the antidote. Yeah. Connection is actually the opposite of addiction. I think it's Johan Hari always puts things so beautifully.
He changed that book, his first book, Chasing the Scream, which is about addiction. I read that probably, I don't know, man, like 6 years ago.
What a book.
Changed the game for me.
It
changed everything for me. He talked about Gabor Mate in that book.
Oh,
so then that got
those two, mate.
So then Gabor became probably my greatest teacher.
Yeah, those two. I love those two.
I did a workshop with Gabor about 5 years ago, full day workshop with him.
Wow.
It's funny, you know, you say never meet your heroes. Like there's about, I don't know, like 100 people at this full day thing that I did with him. And you queue up afterwards to get a picture with him, innit? And I don't know what I had in my head, but he's obviously not going to know who I am, right? But like he just signed my book, had a picture of me, and then I was gone, and it was a bit like, I thought he was going to be like...
Say 3 words that would change your life.
It was a bit like that. But I still get a picture out every now and then and look at it, man.
What a guy.
I was obsessed. I mean, I always say there was some irony in how addicted I became to him because I was obsessed with his work for a couple of years, and a lot of my learnings really come from what I learned from him.
Scattered Minds?
Yeah.
Book.
In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts is...
I haven't read that one.
Oh, mate.
That's
one
next
of the
on
best
the list.
books I've ever read.
Here's a question. Do you reckon it's possible to get addicted to like self-help books and all that kind of...
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If you look at addiction as being, and this is Gabor Mate's line, anything that I do for temporary relief that has a negative impact on me in the long run, but that I continue to do anyway, then we can class that as potentially being somewhere on the lines of addiction. So Like, I mean, look, being addicted to self-help books is not going to be quite as destructive as being addicted to cocaine, right? But it's still masking the same thing, still serving the same purpose, which is try not to feel how I feel.
What is the best thing about what you do? What do you enjoy most about it?
Probably hearing about the impact that it's had on people's lives. You know, like I do some stuff and people come, you know, when somebody comes to you and says, you've changed my life. What I did with you's changed my life. Or I see like somebody who was in the darkness that I used to be in all of the time come out of it and light up. There's nothing quite like it. There's nothing quite like it. I love it. So that's probably the best thing. But I also like to hear about that online because as extroverted as I present, I'm very introverted, right? I'm very happy just, if you look at my social media, I don't really put anything about my family on there. I talk about it a lot, but I don't post, like, I don't use social media in that way. Here's me out with I'm very happy with my just family, just locked away in my house. I mean, but seeing the impact that it has on other people, I guess. Is that an obvious answer?
Sometimes the obvious answer is the best answer.
Maybe, yeah.
And I mean, you know, that sounds like the best thing anyway. There's nothing better than that when you hear that you've had a positive impact on someone's life. And if you're saying you've changed someone's life, I think hearing that and knowing that you've made a difference, I think as humans, that's something that we you know, that thing of what you're saying about feeling love, but also, you know, we're humans, we're connected to other humans. That's naturally as we are as human beings. We like to feel connected to people. And if we're helping someone grow or develop or evolve or even change their life, I think there is no better feeling, because that's when you feel even more connected to that person.
Definitely.
I really relate to the you being an introvert, but then presenting it as an extrovert. I get that so much. I was saying to a friend of mine the other day, I'm definitely an introvert, but I love people. So it's really hard being an introvert, because I love speaking to them. I get excited, but then afterwards, I'm like, God, I need to take a day off.
Oh, lock me in a room. I love going to a social event and then I've got to get away from humans for a day. Ambivert. You ever heard that term?
Ambivert? No, what's that?
An introvert that presents as an extrovert.
Well, and I'm definitely that then.
So I heard a good definition of introvert and extrovert. So an introvert is someone that gains their energy, so fills up their cup from spending time on their own. An extrovert is someone who fills up their cup by spending time with other people. Which to me, I'd never heard it like that. But when I heard that, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
That's why I'm an introvert. Because I recharge on my own. You know, CrossFit's massive now, because then everyone's like, why would you want to, like, you go CrossFit, everybody's there, we're all together training, you know, we're in a big group. And I'm like, because that's what is like, you're obviously extroverted. That's what I'm like, that's why I don't do CrossFit, because you got to do it with people. I want to go to the gym on my own, headphones, I don't want anyone near me. I'm only against myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm introverted, so I fill my cup up that way, or empty my cup, depending on how you want to look at it.
And then something I wanted to ask, and you know, you have Uncommon, the space for men, and you talk about, you know, as men, as we talked about, to be honest, throughout this podcast, is, you know, we all have emotions. Often we don't know how to channel them or talk about them. Something you do is you create that space for men. What is important when you create that space? What are the ingredients that make that space encourage men, help men to open up?
Listening. So what we do at Uncommon Man is we do an exercise, right, where you put the men in pairs, and I don't give any direction on talking. Say one of you is going to have 7 minutes to talk about something that's coming up for you, right? And I say you talk about whatever you want. I say if you're really struggling to come up with something, this week's theme is guilt. So talk about something that you've done that's made you feel really, really guilty. That's just for some people's heads go a little bit scattered because they're a bit nervous when they sit down. That's the only instruction that I give to the talking. The listeners then, I say, look, listening is about holding space. I introduce a bit of a framework and I say, you're not allowed to fix them. You're not allowed to give them advice. You're listening. You're metaphorically holding their hand, right, and exploring it with them. So you ask open-ended questions. When they tell you what's happened, don't jump straight to giving a piece of advice. And when people are new, they go 7 minutes. Fucking, I don't know what to say. And then they always come back and they're like 7 minutes. I just started. Because what my experience has been is when you create that space for men where they feel like be safe and heard, you can't shut them up. They don't shut up. talked about. Like, they don't. Like every time I set that exercise up at Uncommon Man, I always think this is going to be the week where there's going to be a pair that sat there in silence. And there never is.
Yeah.
What happens is after 15 minutes, I have to go around going, please, come on, 30 seconds, let's bring you back now. Because they're in it.
You gave them permission to.
Gave them permission, exactly.
Because they saw other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So so it's really very simple. But the problem is that men only really come together, and I'm generalizing, of course, but men only really come together for funerals, weddings, sporting events, and piss-ups.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know what I mean? A group of friends won't go, oh, Sammy's just split up with his girlfriend, let's get everybody together and have a chat. We don't do it.
I always say that blokes connect shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Women connect face to face.
Yeah.
They'll go to brunch. Blokes will just like, watching a game, like having a beer, just like, you right, mate? Yeah.
And that's what we do, that shoulder to shoulder. That's what we try and do at Uncommon Man. We serve non-alcoholic beer there. But the idea is, look, there's no expectations. There's no outcomes. You're not going to leave. I'm not going to tell you that by the end of this, you're going to have X, Y, Z. It's nothing. It's just a social 2 hours, men coming together. We're going to do a couple of things, and that's it. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Yeah.
Amazing. I think we're almost out of time. So, Josh, thank you. That was an amazing chat. I learned a lot. You even got me going when you started talking about your daughter, your kids, and feeling that present moment. Do you want to give a shout out to your socials and Uncommon? Anything kind of want to share?
Yeah, look, the best place to find me is probably, you can go to my website, which all my socials are linked on there, but Instagram is my main stomping ground, I would say, which is just Josh_FFW. So yeah, I do loads of content on there.
Definitely go and follow.
Yeah. 100%. Fine, mate. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate it. It's been good. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah.
How was it, Ollie? Making a hero.
Look, he's better in person.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks,
and
guys.
Thank you for listening, watching. Don't remember, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to subscribe. We were actually talking about those weird hand movements that people do on Reels on Instagram, but go there somewhere. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And for now, take it geezy.